the youngest daughter of a millionaire, considered the black sheep of the family, married the handyman's son while pregnant, against the millionaire's wishes. But years later, no one could believe when. What shocking revelation years later could completely change everything this millionaire's family thought they knew? Before we continue, tell us in the comments where in the world you're watching the video from. And don't forget to subscribe. Ellen sat on the edge of her opulent bed, the silken sheets pooling around her like a soft tide. The lavish bedroom, adorned with intricate moldings and gilded accents, felt more like a gilded cage than a sanctuary. Her gaze drifted through the tall, arched windows that framed the sprawling estate of her father, Henrik. The grand mansion loomed majestically on the hillside, its white facade gleaming under the pale Norwegian sun. But to Ellen, it symbolized the weight of expectations that pressed down on her shoulders. The perfectly manicured gardens, with their vibrant blooms and meticulously trimmed hedges, seemed to mock her restless spirit. She could hear the distant laughter of her family echoing through the halls, a sound that used to fill her with warmth but now only deepened her sense of isolation. Ellen was the youngest daughter of one of Norway's wealthiest magnates, yet she felt like the black sheep of the family. In their eyes, she had become a disappointment, a reckless child whose defiance against the carefully constructed life they had envisioned for her had turned into a personal affront. The pressure to conform was suffocating, and every glance from her father felt like a silent judgment. Outside, the sprawling grounds of the estate stretched endlessly, a testament to her father's ambition and success. But Ellen's heart longed for freedom, for a life unshackled by the chains of privilege. As she watched the clouds drift lazily across the vibrant blue sky, she couldn't help but feel a pang of longing for something different. She yearned for the simplicity of life, a stark contrast to the ostentatious displays that surrounded her. In her mind, she envisioned a life where her choices were her own, unfettered by societal expectations. The weight of her secret loomed heavily over her like a storm cloud ready to burst. She was pregnant, a reality that both thrilled and terrified her. The news was a ticking time bomb, and she had yet to summon the courage to share it with her family. She had made choices that seemed reckless in their eyes, but to her, they were liberating. The thought of marrying Lars, the son of the mansion's caretaker, sent waves of exhilaration coursing through her veins. Lars was everything her family despised, ordinary, unrefined, and from a world they considered beneath them. Yet, in his presence, Ellen felt seen, valued, and truly alive. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a golden hue over the estate, Ellen made her decision. She could no longer live a lie, hiding behind the facade of perfection her family demanded. With newfound determination, she stood up, smoothing the wrinkles from her dress as she prepared to face her family. She could feel her heart racing as she imagined their reactions, the shock, the anger, the disappointment. But amidst the fear, there was a flicker of hope that ignited within her. Perhaps this was the moment she had been waiting for, the moment to reclaim her identity and forge her own path. The family dinner that evening was a lavish affair, the long table adorned with fine china and crystal goblets that sparkled in the candlelight. Ellen's family members were gathered, their laughter and chatter filling the air with a sense of normalcy. Yet, as she took her seat, a palpable tension gripped her heart. She could see the expectant looks on their faces, the subtle glances exchanged between her father and her siblings, and she felt as though she were standing on the edge of a precipice, ready to leap into the unknown. As the meal progressed, Ellen struggled to engage in the conversation, her mind racing with thoughts of what she was about to reveal. The clinking of utensils and the sound of laughter felt distant, a mere backdrop to the storm brewing inside her. Her father, with his commanding presence, spoke of business ventures and societal events, oblivious to the turmoil within her. She could feel his expectations weighing heavily on her, a constant reminder of the life she was expected to lead. Finally, as dessert was served, Ellen's heart pounded in her chest. She could no longer hold back the truth that had been festering inside her. With a deep breath, she stood, her voice trembling as she prepared to shatter the illusion of perfection that surrounded them. The room fell silent, all eyes turning to her as she spoke of her pregnancy and her decision to marry Lars. The words hung in the air, heavy and charged with emotion. The reaction was instantaneous. Her siblings exchanged shocked glances, their mouths agape in disbelief. Her mother, usually the epitome of grace, appeared momentarily frozen, as if caught in a dream from which she could not awaken. But it was her father's face that struck Ellen the most, a mask of anger and disappointment that seemed to darken the entire room. Henrik's brow furrowed, his jaw clenched tight as he processed her announcement. Tension crackled in the air like static electricity, and Ellen felt as though the weight of the world had been thrust upon her shoulders. She had known this moment would come, but the reality of their reactions was more than she had anticipated. The lavish dinner, once a source of comfort, now felt like a battleground, the stakes higher than ever. Ellen had crossed a line, and there was no turning back. In the days that followed, Ellen felt the sharp edges of her family's disapproval. Her father's wrath echoed in every corner of the estate, and the air was thick with unspoken words and strained glances. She had chosen a life that her family deemed unworthy, a path that led her away from the gilded halls of privilege and into the unknown. Yet, despite the turmoil, her heart remained steadfast. Love for Lars and the life they would build together burned brightly within her, illuminating her path even in the darkest moments. The day of her wedding arrived with a sense of urgency, as though the universe conspired to propel her forward. Ellen and Lars rushed to a small chapel nestled in the woods, a hidden gem far removed from the prying eyes of her family. The quaint structure, with its rustic charm and intimate atmosphere, felt like a sanctuary where she could finally shed the weight of her past. As they entered, the scent of pine mingled with the delicate aroma of wildflowers, creating an enchanting atmosphere that enveloped them. Ellen's heart raced as she stood before Lars, her eyes sparkling with excitement and uncertainty. This was their moment, a turning point that would forever alter the course of their lives. As the officiant began the ceremony, Ellen felt a sense of liberation wash over her. The shackles of her family's expectations slowly crumbled as she vowed to stand by Lars's side, to embrace the life they would create together, no matter the challenges that lay ahead. Outside, the world was alive with the sounds of nature, the gentle rustling of leaves, the distant call of birds, and the soft whisper of the wind. Ellen felt as though they were stepping into a new realm, one where love reigned supreme and the burdens of wealth and privilege faded into the background. With each word spoken, she could feel the bonds of her past loosening, replaced by a sense of belonging to something greater. Yet, as they exchanged vows, a shadow loomed in her heart, a lingering fear of what her father would say, of the chasm that had opened between them. She could almost hear his voice, laced with disappointment, echoing in her mind. But in that moment, surrounded by the warmth of Lars's love, she pushed the fear aside. She had chosen her path, and there was no turning back. As they sealed their vows with a kiss, Ellen felt a surge of hope. The road ahead would undoubtedly be fraught with challenges, but she was ready to face them head-on. In Lars, she had found not only a partner but a kindred spirit who understood her struggles and aspirations. Together, they would carve out a life that was truly their own, defying the odds and embracing the beauty of their unconventional love. In the distance, the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the chapel. Ellen took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her choices settle comfortably upon her shoulders. She was ready to embrace the future, no matter what it held. And as they walked down the aisle hand in hand, she knew this was just the beginning of their journey, a journey that would challenge them, redefine them, and ultimately lead them toward a love that transcended the boundaries of their past. Ellen and Lars found themselves in a new world, one that was far removed from the opulence of her father's estate. Their modest apartment, with its worn furniture and peeling paint, stood as a stark contrast to the luxurious life Ellen had known. The walls were thin, and the sounds of the city, honking cars and distant chatter, seeped in, a constant reminder of their new reality. Ellen spent her days navigating the complexities of pregnancy while trying to adjust to the simplicity of their life. Each morning, she stared into the mirror, the reflection of a woman whose life had shifted dramatically, her once vibrant spirit now tinged with a sense of isolation. Lars worked tirelessly, taking on odd jobs to support their growing family. His hands, once clean and soft from a life of privilege, were now rough and calloused from hard labor. Ellen watched him with a sense of admiration mixed with worry. The weight of their financial struggles pressed down on both of them, a tension that was palpable in their small living space. There were nights when they lay in bed, the air thick with unsaid words, both feeling the strain of the decisions they had made. Ellen missed her family terribly, but was adamant in her belief that she had chosen the right path. Yet, the absence of her father's support was a shadow that loomed over her, intensifying her loneliness. The impending arrival of their twins added a layer of complexity to their situation. Ellen felt the physical toll of carrying two babies, her body stretching and aching with each passing day. She often found herself resting on the worn couch, surrounded by scattered baby clothes and the remnants of their makeshift life. The excitement of becoming a mother mingled with the anxiety of their uncertain future. Each flutter of movement within her was a reminder of the new life they were creating. Yet it came with the bittersweet realization that her father would not be there to share in their joy. As the weeks turned into months, Ellen and Lars settled into a routine, their days filled with planning for the twins. They spent evenings discussing names, decorating a small corner of their apartment with drawings of animals and bright colors, creating a world of warmth amidst the starkness of their surroundings. Lars would often bring home small tokens, a plush bear or a colorful mobile, each item a symbol of their hope and love. Ellen cherished these moments, where laughter and dreams filled the air, providing a brief escape from the reality of their struggles. The day finally arrived when Ellen went into labor. The pain surged through her, a visceral reminder of the life-changing moment that was unfolding. Lars, ever supportive, held her hand tightly, his presence a steadying force amidst the chaos of the hospital. They navigated the sterile environment of the maternity ward, filled with the sounds of beeping machines and distant cries of newborns. Ellen's heart raced with excitement and fear as she prepared to welcome her twins into the world. The hours stretched on, each contraction a mixture of agony and anticipation, until at last, the cries of their children filled the room. Sindre and Astrid had arrived, their tiny forms wrapped in blankets, symbols of love and resilience. In the days that followed, as Ellen and Lars adjusted to life as new parents, they found solace in their shared experiences. The struggles that had once threatened to pull them apart only served to strengthen their bond. Late nights spent rocking the babies to sleep, the soft lullabies they sang together, and the quiet moments of tenderness became the foundation of their family. Ellen's heart swelled with pride as she watched Lars effortlessly step into the role of a devoted father. He would coo at the twins, his voice rich with affection, and Ellen couldn't help but feel a flicker of happiness amidst the pressures they faced. Yet, the specter of judgment from Henrik and the elite society weighed heavily on their shoulders. Ellen found herself stealing glances at the photos of her family displayed on the walls of their apartment. Pictures of lavish gatherings where laughter echoed through grand halls, a stark contrast to the life she now led. She often wondered what her father would think of her now, a mother in a modest home, raising twins far removed from the expectations he had for her. The thought gnawed at her, a constant reminder of the chasm that separated her from the life she had once known. Ingrid, Henrik's wife, remained a distant figure in Ellen's mind. She had always been the quiet force in Henrik's life, often overshadowed by his demanding presence. Ellen had never thought much of her, viewing her as a passive participant in her father's world. But as the days turned into weeks, she began to feel an inexplicable pull towards Ingrid, a yearning for connection, a desire to bridge the gap that had formed. It was during one restless night, while rocking a fussy Sindre, that Ellen made the decision to reach out. Ingrid arrived unannounced one afternoon, her demeanor calm and composed as she stepped into the modest apartment. The contrast between her tailored outfit and the clutter of Ellen's living space was striking. Ellen felt a mix of apprehension and curiosity as she welcomed her mother-in-law into their home. The air was thick with unspoken words, the weight of their familial ties creating an atmosphere charged with emotion. Ellen offered Ingrid a seat, nervously glancing around the room as if the disarray reflected her own chaotic feelings. Ingrid's presence was both comforting and unnerving. She looked around the apartment, her gaze lingering on the carefully arranged corner that had been transformed into a nursery. The sight of the colorful mobile swaying gently in the breeze brought a soft smile to Ingrid's lips. Ellen felt a flicker of hope that perhaps Ingrid understood the struggles they faced. As they sat together, the conversation flowed naturally, revealing the struggles Ingrid had faced in her own marriage. She spoke of the expectations imposed by Henrik, the pressures of maintaining appearances within their social circle, and the loneliness that often accompanied her role as a wife. Ellen listened intently, her heart swelling with empathy as Ingrid shared her own experiences of feeling trapped beneath the weight of societal expectations. They discovered common ground in their shared struggles, a fragile bond forming between them. For the first time, Ellen felt seen, her own feelings of isolation reflected in Ingrid's words. The vulnerability of their conversation opened a door to understanding, one that had remained closed for far too long. As the afternoon sun streamed through the windows, illuminating the room with a warm glow, Ellen and Ingrid found themselves laughing at the absurdity of their circumstances. The shared moments of joy and sorrow forged a connection that neither of them had anticipated. In that small apartment, amidst the chaos of baby cries and the remnants of their pasts, a new chapter of their relationship began to unfold. Ellen realized that despite the rift that had separated her from her family, there was a possibility for healing, not just for herself but for Ingrid as well. As Ingrid prepared to leave, she placed a gentle hand on Ellen's shoulder, a gesture of solidarity and support. Ellen felt a wave of gratitude wash over her, a sense of hope blossoming in her chest. The bond they had formed, though fragile, was a testament to the power of shared experiences and the potential for understanding. Ellen watched as Ingrid walked away, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. Perhaps, just perhaps, she could forge a path back to her family, one built on understanding and compassion, rather than resentment and judgment. The journey ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, Ellen felt ready to face whatever came next. Ellen and Lars stood at the edge of a new chapter in their lives, the air thick with the scent of fresh wood and the sounds of construction echoing around them. Their small construction business had begun in the cramped confines of their modest apartment, where the couple had poured their dreams and sweat into creating something from nothing. Now, the foundation of their first major project was being laid, a simple yet significant step towards building their future. The twins, Sindre and Astrid, napped peacefully in their crib, blissfully unaware of the hustle and bustle that surrounded their parents. With the sun hanging low in the sky, casting a golden hue over the site, Ellen surveyed the chaos that had become a part of their daily life. Workers milled about, hammering and lifting beams, while Lars coordinated the effort with an energy that radiated from him. He had an innate ability to connect with people, to inspire them to work harder, to believe in their shared vision. Ellen admired him for this, her heart swelling with pride as she watched him in action. They had come so far from the days when they were just two young lovers defying an entire lineage. Yet, there were moments when the weight of their past pressed heavily on her shoulders. Ellen often caught herself glancing toward the horizon, where her father's estate loomed like a fortress. She could almost feel Henrik's disdain, a whispering echo from their last encounter that had left scars yet to heal. Despite their successes, the shadow of his judgment lingered. Ellen's thoughts would drift to the lavish dinners, the polished silverware, and the hollow laughter of a family that had once felt like home. She had chosen a different path, one that had brought her joy but also deep-seated conflict within her soul. The construction site was not just a business venture. It was a symbol of her defiance, the manifestation of her choices. As she moved among the workers, discussing plans and inspecting the progress, Ellen felt a sense of empowerment wash over her. She was not merely the daughter of a magnate. She was a force in her own right. The adrenaline surged within her, fueled by the very determination that had led her to Lars and to this life they had built together. Days turned into weeks, and the project began to take shape. The modest building that they once envisioned now transformed into a sturdy structure, a testament to their perseverance. Ellen and Lars worked tirelessly, their hands calloused but their spirits unbroken. They had learned to navigate the challenges that came with parenting twins while juggling a burgeoning business. Every sleepless night spent soothing a fussy baby was countered by the thrill of seeing their dream materialize. As they climbed the ladder of success, a chance encounter shifted the course of their journey. It was at a local trade fair, where Ellen had set up a modest booth, displaying their work and inviting potential clients to take a look. The sun shone brightly that day, illuminating the faces of visitors who milled about, some stopping to admire their craftsmanship. Among the crowd was a wealthy investor, known for his eye for promising ventures. His presence loomed near, an air of authority surrounding him. Ellen's heart raced as she noticed the man lingering by their booth, examining the blueprints they had displayed. He was impeccably dressed, with an aura that spoke of success and influence. Lars caught her eye, a silent understanding passing between them. They both knew this could be the opportunity they had been waiting for, a chance to elevate their business to heights they had only dreamed of. With a deep breath, Ellen stepped forward, her nerves tingling with anticipation. She introduced herself and Lars, sharing their story, the struggles they had faced, and the passion that drove them. The investor listened intently, nodding at their enthusiasm, his expression inscrutable. As they spoke, Ellen felt a spark igniting within her, a fire fueled by the hope of validation. The exchange was electrifying, each word a stepping stone toward a brighter future. Days later, the investor called them in for a meeting. It was in a sleek, modern office, a world away from the construction site that had become their second home. The polished furniture and minimalist decor stood in stark contrast to the chaos of their daily lives. The investor laid out his vision for a partnership, a proposal that could catapult their business to the forefront of the industry. Ellen and Lars listened, their hearts pounding with excitement and trepidation. They discussed numbers, strategies, and the potential for growth. Ellen could see the glimmer of opportunity in Lars's eyes, the same spark that had ignited their journey together. The investor spoke of plans that could put their designs into the homes of the elite, a chance to showcase their talents on a grand scale. With every passing moment, the weight of their past struggles felt lighter, as if they were shedding the remnants of doubt that had clung to them since their early days. But as they prepared to sign the agreement, a familiar tension crept into Ellen's mind. Her father's voice echoed in her thoughts, warning her of the pitfalls that came with ambition. To enter the world of the elite would mean confronting her family, facing the man who had once deemed her unworthy. Yet, the prospect of success was intoxicating, and Ellen felt herself teetering on the edge of a decision that could define her future. In the weeks that followed, their business flourished. They secured contracts that filled their schedules, their reputation growing among builders and clients alike. The small construction company began to earn respect in the industry, a testament to their hard work and unwavering commitment. Ellen and Lars reveled in their triumphs, often stealing moments between work to celebrate their progress. Each completed project felt like a victory, each satisfied client a validation of their choices. However, amidst the whirlwind of success, the call from Henrik came like a sudden storm, uprooting their newfound stability. The phone rang late one evening, the sound slicing through the calm of their home. Ellen's heart sank as she recognized the caller ID, a mix of dread and nostalgia washing over her. Her father's voice was stern, commanding, demanding her presence at a family event. The invitation stirred a tempest of emotions within her. Memories flooded back, years of tension, the chasm that had grown between them after her marriage to Lars. Yet, buried beneath the hurt was a longing for reconciliation, for the acceptance that had always eluded her. The twins were growing, and the thought of them being disconnected from their heritage tugged at her heartstrings. As she hung up the phone, Ellen felt the familiar ache of conflict. The success she had built with Lars felt overshadowed by the weight of her father's expectations. Would he acknowledge the life they had created? Would he see the depth of her love for Lars and the family they had formed? The uncertainty gnawed at her, a reminder of the fractures that had yet to mend. Ellen glanced toward the nursery, where Sindre and Astrid slept peacefully, and she made a silent vow to protect them from the pain of her past. In the days leading up to the event, Ellen wrestled with her emotions, torn between the desire for acceptance and the fierce loyalty she felt for her family. She could no longer ignore the wounds caused by her father's rejection. The thought of facing Henrik filled her with trepidation, yet deep down, a flicker of hope ignited. A hope that perhaps, against all odds, their family could heal. As the date approached, Ellen found herself standing at a crossroads. The success they had achieved was a testament to their strength, but the call from her father reminded her of the complexities of family ties. She clung to the belief that love could be a bridge to reconciliation, that perhaps this gathering could be the catalyst for a new beginning. With every ounce of determination, she resolved to face her past, to confront the unresolved feelings that had lingered for far too long. In the depths of her heart, Ellen knew that no matter the outcome, she had forged a life filled with love, passion, and purpose. As she prepared for the event, she steeled herself for the challenges ahead, ready to embrace whatever came next. The journey had been fraught with trials, but it had also been illuminated by the light of their shared dreams. It was this light that would guide her home, even if the path was uncertain. At the family event, the grand hall of the estate was adorned with opulent decorations, the kind that Ellen had once reveled in as a child but now felt suffocating. The air was thick with the scent of extravagant floral arrangements, and the distant sound of laughter echoed through the marble corridors, mingling with the soft clinking of crystal glasses. Each detail, from the gold-trimmed tablecloths to the exquisite chandeliers, was a testament to her father's wealth and status, a world that felt both familiar and alien to Ellen now. As she stepped into the room, a wave of coldness washed over her. The moment she entered, the laughter dimmed slightly, and conversations faltered, as if the very air had shifted in her presence. Ellen clutched her handbag tightly, her heart racing. She was acutely aware of the expectant gazes of her extended family, their expressions a mix of surprise and thinly veiled judgment. Whispers fluttered around her like restless butterflies, and although she had built a successful life for herself and her family, the shadow of her father's disapproval loomed large. Henrik stood at the far end of the room, surrounded by family members who admired him like a regal figure. His imposing stature and stern demeanor commanded respect, yet to Ellen, he was merely a man whose love felt conditional, a father who had cast her aside for choosing a different path. She forced herself to meet his gaze, searching for a flicker of warmth, but found only the familiar coldness that had become a hallmark of their relationship. The pride she felt for her accomplishments was marred by the longing for acceptance in the very family that had once been her whole world. As she navigated through the crowd, Ellen caught sight of Sindre and Astrid, her twins, who were blissfully unaware of the tension that surrounded them. With their bright eyes and infectious laughter, they were a radiant contrast to the muted atmosphere. The twins played together, weaving through the legs of their relatives, charming everyone with their innocence and joy. Ellen couldn't help but feel a swell of pride as she watched them. They were a testament to her and Lars's hard work, a living proof that love could flourish against all odds. Henrik's gaze, however, was drawn to the children. Ellen noticed the way his tense posture relaxed ever so slightly as he observed Sindre and Astrid. The corners of his mouth twitched in what may have been the beginnings of a smile, a flicker of something that resembled fondness. For a moment, Ellen dared to hope that perhaps, just perhaps, the grandchildren could bridge the chasm between them. She approached, encouraging the twins to greet their grandfather, her heart pounding with anticipation. As they ran towards him, their laughter filling the room, Ellen held her breath. She watched Henrik's face transform as Sindre and Astrid beamed up at him, their innocent charm softening the edges of his stern demeanor. He reached down, his hand trembling slightly as he tousled Sindre's hair, and Ellen felt a rush of emotions flood through her: joy, hope, and the haunting shadow of fear. Would this be a turning point? Could her father accept her? Yet, beneath the surface of warmth, Ellen sensed an undercurrent of tension. The murmurs of the extended family resumed, and she could not escape the feeling that they were all watching, waiting for something to happen. The atmosphere shifted once more as whispers escalated into hushed conversations, and Ellen's heart sank as she overheard a few disparaging remarks about Lars. The words were laced with a disdain that was familiar and painful. She felt her stomach clench, a visceral reaction to the unkindness directed at the man she loved. Henrik, who had once held her in his arms as a child, now stood with a critical eye, assessing Lars with the same judgment that had driven Ellen away years ago. The remarks were subtle but cutting. They spoke of Lars's humble beginnings, of his father's status as a mere caretaker, and the implications that came with being associated with someone from a lower social class. Ellen's heart raced with indignation. Her father's attitudes were archaic and cruel, and she felt the familiar spark of rebellion igniting within her. She had fought hard to carve out a life for herself and her family, to rise above the whispers and judgments that had once defined her. Lars was not merely the caretaker's son. He was her partner, her equal, and the father of her children. The love they had built together was worth more than any title or lineage, and she would not allow her father's disdain to taint that. Ellen's hands clenched into fists at her sides, her resolve hardening as she steeled herself against the wave of anger that threatened to overwhelm her. The laughter and merriment around her felt like a distant memory. She could see her father's face, his lips curling into a smirk as he made another jab about Lars, oblivious to the damage he was causing. The warmth that had briefly blossomed in her heart began to freeze over, replaced by a fierce determination to protect her family at all costs. She would not stand by and allow anyone, especially not her father, to belittle Lars or the life they had created together. As the event unfolded, Ellen watched her father interact with her children, his demeanor shifting with each passing moment. Sindre and Astrid were completely unaware of the tensions simmering beneath the surface. They were just thrilled to have their grandfather's attention. Yet, with each smile he offered them, Ellen felt the uneasy balance of hope and dread. Would he ever truly accept them, or would they always be viewed through the lens of her rebellion against his expectations? Ellen's thoughts were a whirlwind of emotions, conflicting and chaotic. She felt the weight of her choices pressing down on her, each decision echoing in the recesses of her mind. The path she had taken had led her away from this world, yet here she was, standing at the precipice of what could either be a reconciliation or a deeper fracture. The shadows of their past loomed large, and she knew that the night would not end without some form of confrontation. As the evening wore on, the atmosphere began to shift again. Ellen found herself seeking out Lars, who was mingling with the guests, his easy charm disarming those around him. He was in his element, navigating conversations with grace, and she felt a swell of admiration. Yet, as she approached him, the unease in her heart grew heavier. She could sense the undercurrents of tension, the subtle glances exchanged between her father and others, all too aware of the divisions that still existed. Lars caught her eye and smiled, but Ellen could see a flicker of concern in his gaze as he noted her strained expression. She reached for his hand, intertwining her fingers with his, drawing strength from his presence. Together, they were a formidable team, and she felt a renewed sense of determination to face whatever lay ahead. They had built a life together, and she would not let anyone tear it down. Yet, in that moment, the sound of laughter echoed through the hall, mingling with the soft strains of music playing in the background. The evening wore on, and Ellen felt the ebb and flow of emotions wash over her. As she glanced back at her father, she recognized a battle raging within him, between pride and prejudice, between love and judgment. The flicker of hope that had ignited in her heart began to dim once more, replaced by the bitter taste of reality. Ellen knew that the night was far from over, and the path ahead was fraught with challenges. She would need to confront her father, to confront the ghosts of their past and the judgments that still lingered in the air. The resolve within her grew stronger, fueled by the love for her family and the desire for acceptance. The evening could very well be the turning point she had longed for, or it could unravel everything she had fought to build. Either way, she would not back down. She was ready to face whatever came next, ready to protect the family she cherished above all else. Ellen stood in the grand hallway of her father's mansion, the opulence surrounding her a stark contrast to the tumult brewing within. Ornate chandeliers dangled from the ceiling, casting a golden light over the polished marble floors, but the beauty of the space felt suffocating. The air was thick with the weight of unspoken words and unresolved tensions, She could hear the echoes of laughter and clinking glasses from the adjoining room, where the family gathered, celebrating a milestone that felt foreign to her. It was a world she had once belonged to, yet now felt like an outsider looking in. Her heart raced as she recalled the recent events that had led her here. The argument with her father had been a long time coming. Henrik's disdain for her choices had festered beneath the surface, and now it bubbled over, threatening to drown their fragile relationship. Ellen's mind replayed the moment she had gathered her courage and stepped into the living room, her pulse quickening with each step. As she approached her father, she felt a surge of determination. This was not just about her. It was about her family, her marriage, and the children who deserved to be acknowledged and embraced, not shunned. The confrontation had erupted like a storm, words flying back and forth, sharp as daggers. Ellen had felt the old wounds reopen. Her father's face had darkened as she stood her ground, declaring that her marriage to Lars was as valid as any other, that their family was deserving of respect and love. She had never seen him look so furious, the color draining from his face, replaced by an intensity that threatened to consume them both. But in that moment, she had also felt a sense of liberation. No longer would she cower under his expectations or the weight of her lineage. She was Ellen, a mother, a wife, a businesswoman, and she would fight for her family. In the midst of their heated exchange, Lars had stepped forward. The strength of his presence had filled the room, an unexpected pillar of support. His voice, steady and unwavering, had commanded attention. He had defended Ellen with such sincerity that even Henrik had faltered, taken aback by the raw confidence radiating from the man he once dismissed as unworthy. Lars's words had cut through the tension, bridging the gap between their worlds. In that moment, Ellen had seen the flicker of respect in her father's eyes, a glimmer of recognition that perhaps Lars was not the failure he had painted him to be. It was a moment of unity, a testament to their love, and a challenge to Henrik's long-held beliefs. But the aftermath had left Ellen reeling. As she retreated to the quiet of her thoughts, the reality of what had just transpired weighed heavily on her. The mansion felt colder now, the echoes of their confrontation haunting the walls. She had poured her heart out, and yet she was left with a blend of hope and fear. Would her father truly change? Would he ever see Lars for who he was, as a partner in their family, not just the son of the caretaker? The uncertainty gnawed at her. Just as Ellen contemplated the fragility of their situation, she felt a soft presence beside her. Ingrid, her mother, approached with a hesitant grace. The warmth of her mother's touch brought a moment of solace amidst the chaos. Ellen's heart swelled with conflicting emotions, both grateful for her mother's support and burdened by the weight of their shared history. Ingrid had always been caught in the crossfire of Henrik's expectations, her own dreams stifled beneath the weight of his ambition and pride. Ingrid's eyes held a depth of understanding that Ellen had always longed for. As they stood together in the grand hallway, the silence between them spoke volumes. Ingrid's voice was soft, almost a whisper, as she revealed a family secret about Henrik's past, the pain that had shaped him into the man he was today. She spoke of his own father's harshness, the relentless pursuit of success that had left wounds that never healed. Ellen listened intently, each revelation peeling back layers of her father's persona, revealing a man who had once been driven by fear and insecurity. The more Ingrid shared, the more Ellen's heart ached for the man she had fought against. Henrik's harshness was not just cruelty. It was a reflection of his own struggles, an echo of a childhood steeped in expectations and disappointment. The empathy that blossomed within Ellen was unexpected, a bridge forming between her resentment and understanding. She realized that her father had been a prisoner of his own making, shackled by the very ideals he had imposed on her. As the conversation deepened, Ellen felt a shift within herself. The confrontation had been necessary, but perhaps it was only the beginning. Ingrid's revelations illuminated the path forward, a potential for healing that Ellen had not considered. She began to see her father not just as the tyrant who had rejected her choices, but as a man burdened by his own demons. Ingrid's words lingered in the air, weaving a tapestry of vulnerability and strength. Ellen understood now that forgiveness, both for her father and herself, would not come easily, but it was a journey she was willing to embark upon. The love she felt for Lars and their twins was a powerful catalyst, a force that could penetrate even the darkest corners of her father's heart. As the evening wore on, Ellen stepped outside into the cool Norwegian air, her mind racing with possibilities. The stars twinkled above, a reminder of the vastness of the world and the connections that transcended their family struggles. She took a deep breath, filling her lungs with the crisp night air, feeling a sense of clarity wash over her. The confrontation may have been painful, but it had also been a turning point. She felt a renewed sense of purpose, determined to forge ahead for the sake of her family. Ellen knew that the road to reconciliation would be fraught with challenges, but she was ready to confront them head-on. The weight of her father's expectations would no longer define her. She would carve her own path and, in doing so, perhaps inspire her father to do the same. With a sense of resolve, Ellen turned back toward the mansion. She would face her father again, not as a rebellious daughter seeking validation, but as a woman who had found her voice. The confrontation had opened a door, and she would not hesitate to step through it. She would fight for her family, for the love she cherished, and for the hope that even the hardest hearts could soften with time and understanding. The journey ahead was uncertain, but Ellen felt ready to embrace it, fueled by the love that bound them all together. Ellen stood at the large window of her office, gazing out at the sprawling landscape that had once felt like a cage, but now represented a world of opportunities. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting a golden hue over the trees that danced in the gentle breeze. It was a reminder of the journey she and Lars had taken since their tumultuous beginnings. Their construction business, once a mere dream, had now blossomed into a reputable firm, known for its integrity and innovation. Yet, as she considered the new project that had just landed in their laps, a wave of anxiety washed over her. It was a substantial contract, one that could solidify their future and elevate them to a new level of success. But it came with a catch. Henrik, her father, wanted to partner with them. Her mind raced back to the countless arguments, the cold silences, and the hurtful words exchanged over the years. The thought of working alongside Henrik, who had once deemed her choices a disgrace, filled her with trepidation. She turned away from the window, her heart heavy with the weight of the decision that loomed ahead. Lars entered the room, his presence warm and grounding. He could sense the turmoil within her, the flicker of doubt that threatened to extinguish their hard-won triumphs. "Remember how far we've come," he reminded her, his voice steady. "This could change everything for us. Think about the kids. They deserve the best." Ellen nodded slowly, the faces of Sindre and Astrid flashing through her mind. Their laughter, their innocent dreams, and the bright futures she envisioned for them urged her to consider the leap into a partnership with Henrik. Yet, the fear of falling back into the old patterns of judgment and disdain loomed large. As they prepared for the meeting with her father, Ellen felt a mix of determination and dread. They dressed in their best attire, a subtle nod to the significance of the occasion. Ellen chose a deep navy dress that hugged her figure, embodying both elegance and strength. Lars, in his tailored suit, exuded confidence, his eyes shining with resolve. Together, they made their way to Henrik's estate, the place that had once felt so suffocating yet now stood as a testament to their journey. Upon arriving, Ellen's heart raced as they walked towards the grand entrance. The mansion loomed overhead, a symbol of her past, filled with memories both beautiful and painful. As they stepped inside, the familiar scent of polished wood and expensive perfume enveloped them. The opulent decor served as a reminder of the life Ellen had chosen to leave behind, yet it also represented the possibilities that lay ahead. Henrik greeted them with a nod, his demeanor guarded yet curious. The air was thick with unspoken words, and Ellen could sense the tension crackling between them. They took their seats in the expansive conference room, the large table polished to a mirror shine, reflecting the uncertainty that hung in the atmosphere. She felt Lars's reassuring hand on her knee, a reminder that they were in this together. Ellen began to outline their vision for the project, her voice steady despite the weight of Henrik's piercing gaze. She spoke of her dreams for the company, the impact they could make in the community, and how this partnership could benefit both families. Lars chimed in, his enthusiasm infectious. as he painted a picture of collaboration and success. Yet, as the conversation progressed, Ellen could feel Henrik's skepticism lingering in the air. The turning point came unexpectedly. As they delved deeper into the details, a slip of paper caught Henrik's attention. It was a project proposal from years ago, one that had been lost in the shuffle of time. As he read through it, his expression shifted, the lines of his face softening slightly. Memories flickered in his eyes, and he began to reminisce about his friendship with Lars's father, a bond that had been severed by misunderstandings and pride. The revelation hung in the air, a delicate thread woven into the fabric of their conversation. Ellen watched as her father's demeanor changed, the rigid lines of disapproval beginning to blur. It was as if a door had cracked open, allowing the light of understanding to seep through. The tension that had once defined their interactions began to dissipate, replaced by a shared history that neither had dared to acknowledge until now. Henrik glanced at Lars, a flicker of recognition in his eyes. The walls he had built around himself began to crumble as he spoke of his regrets, the friendships lost to the ravages of time and pride. Ellen held her breath, torn between hope and disbelief. Could this be the moment of reconciliation she had longed for? As they continued to discuss the project, a newfound respect blossomed between the three of them. Ellen could see the shift in her father's posture, the way he leaned forward, engaged and interested, rather than distant and dismissive. It was as if they were no longer adversaries, but teammates united by a common goal. The children began to weave into their conversation, with Henrik asking questions about Sindre and Astrid, his curiosity piqued by the life they had built together. During a lull in the discussion, Henrik turned to Ellen, his voice softer than she had ever heard. He spoke of his mistakes, of how pride had blinded him to the love and potential that surrounded him. He acknowledged his harsh judgments, not just of Lars but of Ellen's choices, and in that moment, Ellen felt the weight of years of hurt begin to lift. The meeting concluded with a sense of hope that had once seemed unimaginable. As they rose to leave, Henrik opened his arms, a gesture that felt foreign yet welcome. Ellen stepped forward, embracing her father for the first time in years, their shared past finally finding a place in the present. Lars joined them, the three of them standing together, a family forged through trials and triumphs. As they walked out of the mansion, Ellen felt a lightness in her heart, an unshackling of the burdens she had carried for so long. The sun had dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the landscape. Hand in hand, Ellen and Lars stepped into a future that felt brighter than ever, a future built on love, unity, and newfound respect. The journey they had embarked on together had come full circle, and as they looked toward the horizon, they knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them as a family, bound by love and understanding.